First of all, thank you all for joining in on a Saturday to our weekend webinar series by BitGrid. So I'm Aniket Raj, and I'm the campus ambassador of BitGrid at MIT WPU Pune. I've been working for BitGrid as a campus ambassador for the past 7 months now, and honestly, it has been a great experience working for a great company. So, what is BitGrid? BitGrid is basically a platform created by data scientists for data scientists. So they have hosted a lot of competitions. The companies provide them with problem statements, and whoever is interested in data science can log on to their platform, participate, and win huge amount of prizes up to $10,000. So make sure you do check out the website. I'll be sending the website in the chat box. So if any of you are interested in data science and would like to sort of test out your skills, feel free to take part in the competition. Our webinar for this weekend is game development using p5.js. So for today, we'll be developing a simple game using JavaScript, and you guys don't have to worry if you're not aware of JavaScript. I'll be covering all the details, and there are no such prerequisites to this webinar. So just let me tell you that this is going to be a hands-on webinar. So if you guys are interested in coding along with the webinar, feel free to do so. Do set up your laptop, and I'll be taking this entire webinar, and we'll be covering all the basic aspects of JavaScript, and the library we are going to be using today is p5.js. So it is basically an animation library for JavaScript, and you can add animations to your browser or to the web page you're building. So P5 is helpful in a lot of other ways, and it is not really difficult to learn. If you're familiar with basic JavaScript syntax, using P5 is not a big deal. So meanwhile, let me just help you guys get through the documentation. All right. So as I mentioned that we're going to be taking up JavaScript for this webinar, and I'll be covering the basic aspects of JavaScript, and the library we're going to be using is p5.js. So you guys can visit this website if you want to see or want to go through the documentation. So this is basically used in your websites. You can add animation to your website, and also for basic game development. Personally, I have worked a lot with P5 for the past 2 years, I'd like to say. And it has been an amazing experience working with P5 because I myself like to play as well as build games. So if I want to create a light game which is sort of browser friendly and you can easily host it and play it online, so P5 really helps us do that with minimal amount of code. So here's the documentation. I'm just gonna send this link to you guys. Yeah. So this is the reference for P5. As you guys can see every function over here. You guys can click on the function, say background, and it's gonna tell you what that function does. So we're going to be covering the basic functions in P5. So over here, background is basically used for adding a background color to whatever canvas you're building on. So here are a few examples, and it properly mentions the syntax, what all parameters does it take, and it becomes really easy to understand and incorporate the same thing in your code, right? So it is a very clean documentation, and it's great for reference. Personally, I haven't gone through much videos online or tutorials or any courses for P5. It is quite self-explanatory. So say if I want to draw a rectangle, so I can see there's a shape called rectangle over here, rect, and it simply takes four parameters, so the x and y and the width and the height of the rectangle. All right. So everything is given here in the description itself. You can see the syntax. It has shown what all does it require, and the explanation of each and every parameters, right? So you don't need to do any course as such. The reason I'm taking this webinar is so that you guys can be a little bit more familiar with JavaScript and how much beauty P5 adds to it. And we'll be covering the basic functions so that you guys have a base on which you can build more stuff. Right? So we'll be starting in another 2 minutes. So meanwhile, I'd like you guys to download a particular file because we'll be coding in the same format. So I'll send you the template. Let me just get to that link. So I've uploaded the template to my GitHub. I'll be sending this link. So you guys can see there's an index.html. So this is the basic HTML page where our game will be running, and our the code we're going to be writing today is going to be in sketch.js. Right now it's empty because obviously we haven't started to write any code yet. So I'm going to be sending this folder structure. So over here, I'm just going to copy this link. What you guys can do is simply download the zip over here. And once the zip is downloaded, please make sure that you have extracted it as a folder, and then we can continue coding in it. So I'm just going to be sending this link in the chat. So I've sent the link in the chat. It's my GitHub profile. So you guys can download the template from there, the project, the folder directory, which is present over there. Right. So just give me 1 minute. So those of you who have recently joined, this is going to be a hands-on webinar. So I'll be explaining while I code the game. So you guys can feel free to open up your laptops and code along with me. And if you have any doubts, feel free to put in the chat section. I'll be really happy to answer them. And one little sort of request for you guys is that I'd rather ask you to focus on build or understanding the code more than just sort of copying whatever I'm writing. So even if you miss that code, no worries. I'll be updating the file. I'll be sending you the updated file. So instead of writing on the code for now, just focus on what I'm going to be talking about. So later on, you guys will be having the code and you can do it yourself. So I'd like you guys to give more attention to what I'm going to be explaining. And I'll be updating a file which you guys can directly copy paste from if you guys have missed out on any code, right? All right. So I hope you guys have downloaded this repository from my GitHub, and I have already downloaded it for myself. So you guys can see there's a zip folder over here. What I'll do is I'm going to extract it over here. And just one sec. So here's the folder which you get after extracting. So you can open it up, and you guys can see there's the same format. There's an index.html, and we have another folder called game files where we have all the required library files such as p5, p5.min, and other add-ons. All right, so you guys don't have to worry about this. The only place we're going to be writing the code in is going to be sketch.js. So over there, we are going to be writing a JavaScript code, and we don't even have to worry about the index.html page. It is already sort of auto-generated for us, and we only have to worry about the code in sketch.js. All right. So for today, I'm going to be using VS Code. You guys can feel free to use any other code editors you're using, such as Atom or Sublime Text, any other thing. I personally use VS Code, so I'm going to be using that for today's webinar. All right. So I think we can start coding. So you guys can open up your VS Code, and I'll do the same as well. Open up VS Code and open this particular folder, BitGrid Game Template Master. So all right. So you can see I've opened the same folder over here, BitGrid Game Template Master. We have an index.html over here, which we don't really have to care about. And we have in the game files folder, we have a sketch.js, and this is our crucial file of today's webinar. Right. So all of our focus should be on this file. This is the main place we're going to be writing all our code. All right. So I think let's get started. Okay. So let me just get things clear again. If you guys have any doubts, feel free to put it up in the chat box. So I'll be answering them as and when I could. And also, please pay attention to what I'm writing rather than just copying it or sort of keeping yourself updated with the code. You guys don't have to worry. I'll keep on sending the updated code as a file. I'll be hosting it online, so I'm gonna send you the link as well. You don't have to worry about it. So just pay attention on what functions I'm gonna be using and what logic I'm gonna write. It's not gonna be that complex. We're gonna try to build this game in under 100 lines of code. So just give me 2 minutes. I'd like to show you what our end product should look like. Give me 1 minute. Yeah. So I have just gone through the basics of what are we going to be needing in this game. So you guys can see we have a screen, we have two paddles, we have a ball, and the score has to be maintained itself. All right. So let's switch to JavaScript, and the most important thing in in JavaScript is the function itself. And when you're using P5, when you're going to start building a game, the first thing we need is this canvas. All right. So this canvas is the first thing we need. All right. So in order to do that, we have to set the width and the height. All right. So let's create two variables first, which is going to store the width and the height of the canvas. So in JavaScript, when you write variables, you use the keyword let. All right. You can use var as well, but I personally use let. There's a whole lot of reasons behind let versus var. So I'm not gonna be really explaining that in depth, but you guys can feel free to sort of explore it, or maybe I'll be answering it at the end of the webinar. Right. So it's gonna be let width and height. All right. So these two things I have sort of declared over here. And now let's get to our functions which we're going to be writing for this game. All right. So over here, my functions are divided into two parts. All right. So the first kind of functions will be the functions which I'm using of P5, the library which I had shown over here. Right. So these are the functions provided by P5. All right. So these ready-made functions I'm going to be using, and the other functions I'm going to be using is the ones I create myself. So like displaying the paddles, showing the ball, all those physics which I have to write. So all those things are going to be my functions. All right. So first things first, whenever you're starting with a P5 code, there are two functions which you have to incorporate. So one is setup, and the other is draw. Right? So whenever you're writing P5, these two functions have to be there because these two functions belong to P5. All right. And as you guys can see in JavaScript, this is how you write a function. You use the keyword function and you simply name your function. All right. So these two functions are provided by P5. I'm just going to write it in comment, provided by P5. All right. So you guys aren't confused later on. Okay. And even if you guys sort of miss out on anything, you guys can ask me in the chat box, And also the ready-made code is uploaded on my GitHub. So at the end of the webinar, I'll be sending the entire code. I'll be sending the link to my entire code, and it is properly documented. There are all comments as to why I've done that certain piece of thing. So it's pretty much self-explanatory. Right? So let's talk about setup and draw. So setup over here, it is a P5 function which is called only once. All right. And draw, which is a P5 function again, this is called as long as your browser is active. Okay. So if I write a print statement over here, there's no print in JavaScript, but let's say I'm just going to print hello world. All right. And I'm going to put another hello world 2 over here. Right. So when I start my browser, when I run this function, when I run this file, so hello world is printed only once, because as I mentioned earlier, setup is called only once. But when it starts calling the draw function, you'd see that hello world 2 is, so it keeps on printing until you close your browser. This is because draw function is called infinite number of times. Infinite as in as long as your browser is active. Okay. Okay. So those of you who have joined a little bit late, no worries. I'm just sending a link to what you guys have to do. Right. So if you guys check the chat box, I've sent a link to my GitHub, which has the template for the game. So it should be opening up this website. All right, this is my Git repository. So just do one thing, just download the zip, extract it, and open that particular folder in your code editor. So I'm using VS Code over here. So as you can see, I have opened the BitGrid template, game template master over here, right, which has the exact same folder structure. All right. So once you're done with that, open up your sketch.js file, and over here we're going to be writing code, right? Okay. So I hope you guys understood what is the difference between setup and draw, right? And it also is kind of intuitive that you do the setup once and you keep drawing again and again as and when required. All right. Okay. So let's get started. I'm gonna write down the width as 600 and height as 600 for now. Right? And there's a function in P5 to create the screen, which is known as create canvas. Okay, so basically we draw on a canvas, right? So it's going to take two parameters, width and height. Okay. So what does this do? It sort of creates a canvas, and now P5 knows that, okay, so within the 600 by 600 box, I'll have to draw whatever is written in draw, right? So if I'm drawing a rectangle or an ellipse or anything, it has to be done within these boundaries. All right. So this is the setup of the screen. And just a pro tip, if any of you are using VS Code, you can install this extension called Live Server, right? So most of you who are working with web dev, so Live Server is a really useful thing. So just search for Live Server in your extensions and click on install. So what does this help you with is that I'm going to press this button called Go Live over here. Right. So this is going to open another page. And right now it's empty because we haven't really coded anything as such. So what I'll do is, sorry, just a second. All right. So let's write one more function and then you guys can see what does live server do. Okay. So now I want my screen to be black. So I'm gonna add the background color as 0. All right, which is basically the amount of color you want. Okay, it's gonna be like this. Okay? Now you guys can see as soon as I hit save, it brings out those changes immediately to the browser. All right, so I'll do is adjust my screen. So that we can sort of see our output side by side. All right. So the three parameters over here are the RGB values. So those of you who are familiar with RGB is basically the amount of red, the amount of green, and the amount of blue which is supposed to be present in your final color. Okay, so I'll just comment over here RGB format. Okay, so if I say, and this value starts from 0 and the maximum value is 255. So if I say 255, 0, it means the amount of red is 255 and the amount of green and blue is 0. Right? So if I hit save, so my screen becomes red. So right now I want black, so which is basically the absence of all colors. So 0, 0, works for us. All right. So I have so I have built my screen and I've given it a color for now. All right. So the next thing we will be getting onto is let's start with drawing the paddles. All right. So we are going to be needing 2 paddles since this is going to be a 2-player game, and for that we are going to be using a class. Okay. So class paddle. You guys can just write it. I'll be explaining what is a class. Okay. So those of you who are familiar with object-oriented programming, you guys know what is a class, what is a paddle, and those of you who are not, basically a class is like a template of the object you're going to build. So what all properties do you want your object to have? You're going to mention it in your class. So it's like a blueprint or it's like a template to what you guys are going to be making. Okay. So say if I make a class called human. Okay. So that's like the template of a human body. Okay. Let's just not call it human. Let's call it an animal. Okay. So there are various kinds of animals. Okay. So if I create a class called human animals, so what all properties do all animals have in common, such as legs, hands, face, or whatever other things, all right? The number of teeth. But for each animal, they vary. All right? They have teeth, but they have different number of teeth. So this is like a template or like a blueprint. So you guys can mention the features over here, and you can change it accordingly. All right. So the common features are noted down in a class. So this is like the very basic example of what a class is. Okay. And and there is something known as a constructor. A constructor basically initializes all those properties, all those variables into your class. Okay. So those of you who are familiar with OOP, you guys know that the function name, the name of the constructor is the same as that of a class. But in JavaScript, it's quite different and it's actually much easier. You just have to call it constructor. Okay, so this is how you write a constructor in JavaScript. And over here, now let's see what all properties does our paddle have. All right. So the 2 things I can majorly think of is basically the X coordinate and the Y coordinate of the paddle. All right. So I'm not going to call it paddle for now. I'm just going to call it player, right? Because in the end, they're going to be players. Right? So each player is going to have 3 things, right? One is going to be its X coordinate. One is going to be its Y coordinate, and one more thing it's going to be is the score of that particular player. All right. So score obviously begins from 0. All right. Now let's see. X. Now I want what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass on a few parameters, which is going to be just the X coordinate and the Y coordinate. All right. So these 2 things I'm going to be taking in as parameters. So when I'll be creating the object, I'll explain why these parameters are necessary. Okay. So let's just copy those values. This dot X equals X and this dot Y equals Y. So over here, this is very important, the this keyword. All right. So whenever you put a this dot before a variable, it means that it belongs to this class. So that is why it is kind of important to use this. Okay. This X and Y are coming from the parameters passed over here. And this dot X is basically the X variable of the class. All right. So the next function it's going to be having is called show. So basically, now you have it ready as such, we're not really showing it. Okay. So in order to draw this, first thing we have to do is set the rect mode as center. Okay. So over here, I'll be explaining rect mode a bit later on. So just copy it for now. I'll be explaining it in depth once we actually draw it on. Okay. So as we had background, we have a function called fill. Okay, so these 2 functions belong to P5. Okay, rect mode and fill, both of them are from P5. Okay, so even background as well. Background is also a P5 function. Right. So the parameter of fill is going to be the color of the paddle. So I'm going to keep it white. So for white, the RGB values are going to be at the maximum, which is 250. All right. And a paddle is basically like a long rectangle. So I'm going to call it rect. Okay. So rect is basically you just have to draw a rectangle, and you can see it is already telling me what are the 4 parameters I have to pass. Okay. So first is going to be the x coordinate. So what is the x coordinate over here? It's this dot x. So you guys can see I've initialized this dot x over here. So that is going to be my x coordinate of the rectangle. All right. In the similar way, the y coordinate is going to be this dot y. Okay. Uh, and the width is going to be say 20. It's just a number coming randomly. And let's create a variable called paddle height. Okay. This is basically how the length of the paddle over here. Correct. Paddle height is going to be say 75. Okay. So I created a variable over here for paddle height. I assigned it a value 75. I'll be later on telling why did I create a separate variable for it. Okay. And player height. Sorry, paddle height. Okay. So the 4 parameters were as follows. One is the x coordinate, one is the y coordinate, the length and the height. Okay, the width and the height. Right. So now my class is sort of created. Now what I can do is I can create the object. So the template is ready. Now it is time to create the actual object. Okay. So I'm going to define 2 variables again. One is going to be player 1 and the other is going to be player 2. Right. What I'll do is I'll just update this code. I'm going to create a new thing. Let's call it thing. So you guys can check in the chat box. I've sent a link. So this is the code which I've written till now. So if you guys are lacking behind, just open up the link and copy paste the code into your code editor. Just gonna make this all clear. Yeah. Okay. So I'll be updating this link constantly when we are gonna reach a milestone. So if you guys have missed out on any part, you guys can directly copy paste one. All right. So till now, what we have done, we have created a template for player. We have created the 2 objects. Okay. And now we have to initialize those 2 objects. Okay. And that is going to be done in set. So the way we initialize an object in JavaScript is the same as Java. So it's going to be player1 equals new player. Okay. So you can see this is the name of the variable. New is a keyword, and this is the name of the class. So we have to put the template which we are creating the object from. Correct. So the template is player over here, and you can see the constructor takes 2 2 parameters. So I have to give the x and y coordinates of the paddle. So I have to give the starting x and y coordinates. So what I'll do is I'm gonna okay. I'll see that out. Okay. So someone is asking, is show function already built in? No, this entire class is created by us, and the code written inside and the constructor and this function is created ourselves. Okay. So show over here is our function. All right, it's not built in. Okay. The things written inside show, these things are obviously built in. The rect mode, fill, rect, this all is built in by P5. All right. I hope that clears the doubt. Right. So over here, the x coordinate is going to be say 20, and I want the paddle to be at the center. All right. I mean center as in from if you're considering the height of the game. All right. So I want it to be somewhere over here. So it's going to be simply height by 2. All right. So we have the height over here as 600. So the center would be height by 2. All right. Let's copy paste this thing for player 2 as well. Okay. Yeah. So for player 2, okay. So okay, player one over here, it's like 20 and the y coordinate is over here. So for player two, it should be over here. All right. So what I'll do, I'll make it as width minus 20. So it's going to be on the extreme right side. So the width value is 600 minus 20, which is 580, which is somewhere over here. All right. And okay, those of you guys who are not familiar with how graphics works on computers, so the origin is over here. I hope you guys can see my cursor. This is 0 comma 0. All right. And this is the x-axis. This is the positive x-axis, and this is the positive y-axis. In mathematics, if we go on top, that is the positive x-axis, but over here it's different. The further you go down below, the value keeps on increasing. Okay, so this is going to be like 10 comma 0, 20 comma 0, 30 comma 0, so on and so forth. And when we are going down, it's going to be like 0 comma 10, 0 comma 20, 0 comma 30, and so on and so forth. So this is how our sort of graph looks over here, right? So width minus 20 is going to be 580, which is going to be over here, and height by 2 is like 0 over here, so 300 will be over here in the center. All right. So we are done with creating the two objects. It still will not be showing the player because we haven't really called the function. We have just created the object. We have not done really anything with it. Okay. So in draw, I'm going to call the functions of player one dot show. So player one has its own show function over here. Correct. Player one, and how you call a function of an object is by using the dot operator. So object dot function. So player one dot show, and I'll call player two dot show as well. Correct. Okay. So you guys can see, we can see the paddles over here. It's kind of a bit fat, so make it 10. Yeah, this makes more sense. All right. So you guys see, you guys saw that I decreased the width over here, so that is why it is now much better. All right. So we at least have the paddles ready. It's not really functional yet. It's just we have actually drawn them. Okay. So you guys can see if I just change this x over here to be say, okay, not over here, but let's make this. If I just say plus 30, so you guys can see it will go a bit down. Okay, like 100 will be much more. All right. So this is how it is moving on the y-axis. All right. So I wanted to be at the exact center, so it's going to be this one. Okay. So talking about rect mode center is basically, see, if I remove this thing now, it's going to be looking like a bit misaligned. You guys can see. All right. Why is that? Because the x and y we are passing right now, it is considering it to be that of over here. This is the x and y right now. The leftmost corner of the rectangle. So that is the x and y. But what we want is we want the center, the x and y of the paddle to be at the center. That is why we add this line of code rect mode center, so that whatever x and y we are considering, it's at the center of the drawing. All right, by default, it is in the corner. We want to get it to the center. So that's why we change the mode to center. All right. Now that the player is ready, let's give it some functionality over here. Okay. So what we'll do next is we're going to assign some value. So what I'll do first is I'm going to update the code on the link. Here. So I've updated the link so you guys can check it out. Right. So let's add some moving functionality to the paddles now. Okay. So for that, we have to basically detect an event. Event is basically if the user is inputting something or if he's pressing a mouse button or something. All right. So for that, we're going to create our own function. Okay. We'll create it below the function draw. All right. And let's call that function control players. Okay. So basically, it's going to be controlling the players. So let's call that function. Okay. Now, first, what we'll do is we're going to try to move the left paddle, that is player one. Okay. So for player one, what keys am I going to assign? I'm going to assign W and S to player one. All right. So I'm just going to write this code and then I'm going to explain how does it work. Right. So, okay. So over here, you guys can see that I've written an if condition, and key is down is basically a function of p5, which basically detects if the key is being pressed or sort of held. Okay. So key pressed and key down is different. So if you just press the button and leave it, that's a press event. But if you're holding the button, so that is a key is down event. Okay. So the parameter taken in key is down is basically what key are you pressing. Okay. So 87 is the ASCII value of capital W. All right. So if I have to pass the ASCII value over here, so if it's 87, it means it's W. Okay. So whenever I detect a key is down function on W, then what you have to do is you have to decrease the Y by one. All right. So what I'll do is I'll just call the function over here, control layer. You guys can see it is moving. It's going a bit slow, but yeah, it's at least moving. All right. So I'm going to do the same thing with the down functionality as well. So for the ASCII value of capital S is 83. You guys can check it online. I just know it for now, so that's why I'm adding it like this. And over here, we're going to be increasing the value of Y. So now if I press S, it's going to go down. All right. Uh, so you can see over here, player one, the Y is being changed of player one. So how do we do that? We do player one dot Y. All right. So we know that Y over here is a functionality. It's a feature of the player. So that is why how do we access that feature is the name of the object dot feature. All right. I'm just going to copy paste the same for player two. So the for it, okay, wait, sorry, it's going to be down arrow. Yeah. Sorry, go up one. Yeah, right over here. Sorry. So if you write up arrow like this, it definitely means the up arrow, which is going to be on your keyboard. Right? So I'll just change player one to player two. Let's just try this. Yes. Now player two is going up. I'm pressing my up arrow key and it's going up. Okay. Now I'll make this similar adjustment to down arrow, and I'm going to increase the value of player two. All right. So now I'm going to press W. Player one is going up. Now I'm going to press S. Player one is going down. Now I'm going to press up arrow key of yeah. So I'm going to press the up arrow key. So player two is going up, and I'm going to press down. So player two is going up. Okay. So I hope you guys have reached this stage as well, where now we have got the paddles to at least move itself. All right. So now that the paddles are moving, I think the next thing we can get to is writing our creating a ball basically. Now we have to create the playable ball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy paste this code again over here so you guys can be updated. And I'm just going to give another 1 minute so that you guys can sort of digest what I have covered till now. I'll give a brief summary. Uh, yeah. So I'll just revise this in 1 minute. Okay. So we have function setup, which is run only the first time. And after that, draw is called as long as the browser is active. All right. So over here, we created a width, we created a height variable and assigned it to create canvas, which basically draws the canvas for us over here. All right. And then we created a class for player, and each player has three functionalities, three features of itself. it has an X, it has a Y, and it has a score, right? So each player has its own score. So these are the three features which we have initialized it with, and it has its own function called show, which basically draws these rectangles. All right, so we have rect mode, we have fill for the color, which gives it that white color 255, 255, 255, and rect is basically just drawing the rectangle. So it's the X, Y, 10 pixels is going to be the width, and paddle height over here, we have assigned it to be 75. So that is why this is 75 pixels long. If I make it 100, it's gonna be longer. So you guys can see it just got a bit bigger. 200. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just gonna keep it 75 because it's pretty standard size for a paddle game, right? Okay. So those of you guys who have joined a bit late, no worries. This session is being recorded. It's going to be uploaded to BitGrid's YouTube channel. So all of our webinars are uploaded over there. You guys can check out BitGrid's YouTube channel. We have taken webinars on machine learning, cryptocurrency, data science, a bit of NLP. So you guys can check out BitGrid's channel, and over there all of our webinars are uploaded and updated. Right? Okay. So now that we have reached here, let's create a class for ball. Okay. So it's going to be above player. The order really doesn't matter. I'm just going to do it this way. Right? Okay. So for me, what I think that ball is going to be having four features. Okay. So the four features are going to be obviously the two features are the first two features is going to be the X and Y coordinates of the ball. Okay. So I'm not going to pass any parameters to the constructor over here because there's just only one ball. So I can initialize anything in my constructor. Okay. So it has an X coordinate. Uh, let's let's spawn it in the middle. Okay, so X is going to be the width by 2. So if this thing is the width sideways, the horizontal width, then the center is going to be width by 2. Right? Same thing for height. It's going to be center height by 2. And the other two things are going to be X speed and Y speed. So basic physics that whatever 2D motion you guys are traveling at, it has two components. It has the X component and it has the Y component. Right? So the X speed of the ball and the Y speed of the ball are stored in this variable. Let's keep it 0 for now. It's going to be stationary. And just as I did in player, I'm going to create a show function for ball itself. Okay. So you guys might be wondering why haven't I written a function over here? Okay. So this will actually give you an error because if you're writing a function inside a class, okay, you guys can see this thing is written inside a class. All right. So it is pretty much self-explanatory that obviously it's a function. All right. So JavaScript basically doesn't let you write the word function, but if you're writing something which is outside the class, then yes, you have to mention the keyword function. Right? That is why you don't have to put the function keyword because it is pretty much understood that since it's inside the class, it's the function of the class. All right. So over here, we're going to create the show function now. And in the show function, I'll do the same thing. I'll put ellipse mode as center. Okay. The ball is going to be green in color. So RGB. So the R is going to be 0. G is going to be 255. That is the complete color, all of green. And B is going to be 0. Okay. And now that I've set the characteristics, let's draw the ellipse itself. So it's going to take four parameters. The first is the X coordinate. So we have this dot X over here. The Y coordinate is going to be this dot Y. And we have the X and Y radius. All right. So X radius and Y radius is going to be the same thing. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll make a variable called diameter, which is going to be a diameter, which is going to be the diameter of the ball. All right. So let's set its value to 20 or 10. I think 20 is going to be the right number. Correct. So I'm gonna initialize the diameter variable with 20. The ball is going to be 20 pixels in diameter, and the two parameters which I have to pass is the diameters. Okay. So this is diameter x and diameter y. All right. So now that this is done, our template is ready. The class is ready. Now we have to create its object. Okay. So as I created two players over here, I'm going to do the same thing for ball. So I'll initialize it with ball over here, and creating the object is going to be the same way. Ball equals new ball. Ball is the name of the class. And since the constructor doesn't take any parameters, so I don't have to provide it with one. All right. So after this, I'm going to call the show function of the ball. Okay. So you guys can see there's a ball created over here. Right. Very simple. We created a class. We gave its features. We created its show function, and created the object and call the function. All right. So I'm just gonna copy paste this to the same link. What I'll do, I'll just resend the link so you guys are updated with it. Right. Send the link so you guys can sort of copy paste it. Are there any doubts till now? Feel free to put it in the chat box. All right. So let's get the ball moving at least. So if I give the speed, say x speed is 1, y speed is 1, then it doesn't really, it still won't be working because we are not really changing the x position and y position. All right. So for doing this thing, we have to, okay, ellipse mode and rect mode. Okay. So, okay, let me just explain that. Rect mode is basically, see, we have the x and y coordinates which we are going to be drawing. All right. So there are two options performed by P5. Right. So one thing we have is, let's see. So this is a rect. Okay. Um, let me do one thing for now. What I'll do is, okay. So do not focus on this part. Just see that the height and length, width and height of the box is 100 by 100. Okay. So this is 100 pixels and this is 100 pixels. So whatever x and y have provided to it, say this is suppose 50 comma 50. Okay. So when the rect mode is not center, this is 50 comma 50. All right. From here it draws the square. All right. But when I put rect mode as center and the x and y coordinates are say 50 comma 50, then 50 comma 50 will be drawn over here as the center. All right. So since it is better to keep track of objects which have a center property, that's why I sort of made the rect mode center so that it's sort of easy for me to calculate as well. All right. I hope the doubt is clear. Okay. So getting back to moving the ball. So we're going to create another function over here called update, which is going to be updating the x and y of the ball. All right. So it's a simple code over here. So whatever is the initial value of x, just add it with the x speed. All right. Similar thing for y. This dot y equals this dot y plus this dot y speed. So it's still not going to be moving, obviously, because we haven't really called the function update. Okay. So before show, call the function update. You guys can see this is moving. So it's going towards the X and it's going towards the Y. Okay. So we haven't really put the physics, so it has left the screen. Let me just reload that. You guys can see it's moving. Okay. So if I make the Y component as 0, it's going to be moving towards the right. And if I make the X speed as -1, it's going to be going towards the left. Right. The same things with the Y speed. But if Y is positive, it's going towards the bottom, and if we keep it as negative, it's going to go on top. All right. So now what I've decided is that when the ball is going to start, when the game is going to start, the ball is going to go either towards the right or towards the left. So in order to achieve that, what I've done is I've there's a random function both in JavaScript and P5. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass an array. As you guys can see, there's an array over here which has two elements called -1 or 1. So I've passed that as an array to random, which is a parameter. Okay. So what does random do is basically it's going to randomly select if the X speed is going to be -1 or 1. All right. So and I've kept the Y speed 0 for now. All right. So what does this mean is whenever the ball is going to be created, its X speed will be either negative or positive, which means it's going to go either to the left or towards the right, and it's random. All right. So if I just one second, keep on reloading this, so you guys can see it went to the right now. Now it randomly went to the left, again to the left. So it's really random. Okay. So whenever the game starts, it's going to randomly go to the right or to the left. All right. So now this being done, let's do one more thing. Yeah. So the another thing we can do is we can add the bouncing functionality right now. As you can see, it's just simply leaving the screen. So let's add those boundaries. All right. So just write down this code along with me. So it's going to be two simple if conditions. Okay. So let's detect first when it's going. It's going to be going on top or at the bottom. So let's make it bounce from there. Right. So let's put an if. So my if condition is going to look like what I'll do. I'll write it first and then I'll explain how does it work. So this is my if condition for detecting the bounce on the boundary. Okay. So okay, let's just remove this one off. Let's just keep it a very let's keep a very simple logic, which is like if the y is less than 0 or if the y is going above the height, what you can do is just simply make the value of speed as negative. Okay, so minus this dot right. Okay. So if it is going on top, as soon as it bounces, it's going to go on bottom. Okay. So just for testing this, what I'll do is don't make this change. I'm going to do it like that. So you guys can see it is bouncing. All right. But if you observe really closely, see, the ball is leaving the screen and then bouncing, which doesn't really make sense. Like at least half of the ball is going outside. And why is that happening is because we didn't add that additional condition. So it is checking if the center of the ball is less than 0, but we don't want to do that. We want to detect the edge of the ball, not the center of the ball. So what is the edge of the ball for y is going to be minus diameter by 2. So diameter is the diameter of the ball and diameter by 2 becomes the radius. All right. So if and over here, I'm just going to put it as plus. So now if you see, it's bouncing perfectly without leaving the screen. Okay, earlier that was not happening because it was detecting the collision at the center, but I don't want it to be at the center. I want it to be at the border. Okay, so that is why I added this additional condition over here. Okay, so now that it is bouncing properly, I can go back to my original code. And I'll do the same thing for x-axis as well. Right. So over here, let's make this dot x minus diameter by 2 is less than equal to 0, and over here this dot x is greater than width. Right. So when this happens, change the x speed. Okay. Now you can see it's bouncing on the x and y axis. Right. So let me just do this randomly. Right. So it is bouncing on all four corners. Sorry, all four edges. All right. So let's keep it the same way. I'm going to update that link. So if you guys have missed out on any part, you can just simply follow. Yeah. Okay, you guys can check the link. It is updated right now. All right. So now the game is actually really slow. So what I can do, instead of increasing x and y values, what I'll do is I'll put a for loop over here. Let me just write it down, and you guys can understand this. Let's say 8 over here, and you can see the speed has increased. Okay, it is too much. So what I did is basically, earlier what was happening, for each draw function, these functions, the ball update part, the ball show part, all of these were called only once. Now for each draw function, I put a loop which is going to call all these functions inside the loop for 5 times. It's going to call it for 5 times. So for every draw loop, they're going to be, this function is going to be called 5 times. That's why the speed increases of the game. All right. So earlier it was a 1:1 ratio. Now it is a 1:5 ratio. So if draw is called once, all the functions inside are going to be called 5 times. So that's why you can see there's an increase in speed. If I make this 10, so it's going to be much more faster. If I make this 100, then my website will start to lag. Right, and nobody would really want to play this game, so let's just keep it really same. Keep it on 5. All right. So now my game is much faster, and even the moving of the paddles are much better. Now it actually looks like the real game. All right. Now we have only 2 more things to add. The 2 things are the bouncing of the ball off the pads and to check for loss. All right. These 2 are the most important things, and then we can keep track of the score. So whenever you're checking for the loss, that time we can keep track of the score. All right. Are there any doubts still now over here? I can understand that the section where I taught the minus diameter by 2 logic, it wasn't really clear. So let me just try it out in Paint if I could do it properly. So let's say this is the edge of the screen, right? And this is the ball, right? So the ball is going like this, all right? So earlier, one sec. Yeah. So this is the center of the ball, okay? This is the center of the ball. This is the X and Y of the ball, all right? So whenever it was considered this to be the top edge of the screen, all right? So whenever our initial condition was if this dot y, if the y of the ball is less than equal to 0, So what was happening is, just assume my cursor is the center, all right? So my cursor is the center. So whenever the ball is going up, it's going up. It will pass the boundary, and over here, when it's gonna meet that condition, yes, it's gonna less than zero. It's gonna be less than zero. Then it will bounce. So this really doesn't make sense. I don't know. I don't want to make it bounce like this. I want to make it. I want to make it bounce like this. So what I did is to detect the top edge. Yeah, to detect the top edge, see, if this dot y, which is over here, minus diameter by 2, which is the radius. So if I subtract the radius, I'm going to get to this point, which is the edge of the ball. Now, if that is less than 0, change the speed. Negate the speed. Make it negative. So if it was going like this, it's going to bounce off like this. All right. I hope this visual explanation made it much more clear. Why did I make it minus diameter by 2? And the same thing you can relate for x-axis. So I'll just draw an entire box. It is this. And okay. So this is 0. I'm really sorry for my handwriting. 0 comma 0. Uh, this is the width, and this is the height. Right? So I can see, yeah, over here. If this dot y plus diameter by 2 is greater than equal to 5. So select, yeah. So over here, now if this dot diameter, so now when this thing, yeah. So now this is this dot y. Now my extreme condition, my edge condition over here is plus diameter by 2 is greater than equal to 5. So this is this dot y plus diameter by 2, which makes the edge of the ball. Now, if that is greater than equal to height, and this is the height over here, then bounce. All right. So, and the same thing for x. So, if this dot x minus diameter by 2 is less than equal to 0, then bounce like this. Change the speed in the x position. And the same thing for y. If the center is over here, this dot y plus diameter by 2, go towards the right. So, it is this point. Now, when it detects the edge, just change this. It's going to be bound. All right. I know this wasn't really the best way to explain, but I hope this is the best I could do right now. Right. Another question. Can you explain the loop and draw again? Ah, all right. So basically, let me just. So if this is I is equal to 0, I less than 1, I plus plus. So this loop is basically just running only once. So this doesn't really make sense. The loop is running only once. All right. So what happens is, let's say in 10 seconds, I call the draw function, say 10 times. Okay, the frequency is, the draw function is called once per second. All right. So if I'm calling once per second over here, uh, give me one sec. If I'm calling it once per second over here, so all the functions inside the loop are being called once per second as well. All right. But now if I write this loop and I make this loop run 5 times. So even the draw is running at 1 per second, but each draw is calling the loop 5 times. It's the loop inside draw is running 5 times. Okay. So the changes in the ball, this ball dot update, earlier it was called only once. So when once the draw was called, the update function was called only once. So that's why the updates were slower. But now when I call the draw and the loop has been running 5 times, so for each draw, update is going to be called 5 more times, 5 times. All right. So that's why when I save this, it's going to increase the speed. right? I hope this was clear. All right. So should I continue? I think this is going to take another 15-20 minutes, and after that, the game should be ready. All right. Any other doubts? I'm just going to wait for 1 more minute. Actually, the remaining part is also going to require a lot of drawing. So what I'll do is I'll just start drawing those things beforehand in a better fashion. You guys have any other doubts? So, okay, I'll just continue it later. Hello? So let's detect the bounce at the paddle first. All right. So for that, I'll have to create a new function which is called check player. Right? Uh, function. Let's call it check player. Right? So this is another function, and this function is created by me. So now I'll be detecting the bounce between the ball and the pad. Okay. So let's break this down into two parts. The first part I feel should be let's check it for player one first. All right. Because if we can check it for player one, we can easily rewrite the code to check it for the second player. Okay? So this is a bit of a complex if, all right, because we have to check for a lot of things. All right. So the first thing which comes in your mind is basically the same thing over here. Right? So let me just draw the center. So consider this to be the center of the paddle. This is the uh, x and y of the paddle. All right. And now this is the ball. All right. So now if I want to detect the bounce, so this is going to be the condition. Okay. Yeah. So over here, this is the x of the ball. All right. And this is for the player on the left. Right. This is player one. So over here, what I'll have to detect is if player dot x, if ball dot x, this is the ball dot x minus diameter by 2, which is the radius, minus radius, basically. Okay, so I've got to this point. Okay, now if this thing is less than equal to this x over here, sorry, the x, yeah, right, the x of the paddle, all right, x of the paddle plus the width of the paddle by 2. Okay, so we basically have to get to this point. So let's make contributions from both sides, from the ball as well and from the paddle as well. So from the ball, how do we get to the center over here? It's going to be ball dot x minus radius, all right, which is diameter by 2. And for the paddle, it's going to be paddle dot x, say player one dot x plus width by 2. Width, not the entire screen of the width of the paddle plus width by 2. Okay? So it comes over here. This is 2 points. So now if this thing is less than the distance from here, it means there's a collision detected. All right. That is the first part of our condition. Okay, so let me just write that in code. So I'm going to put it in another bracket if ball dot x minus diameter by 2 if this thing is less than equal to player1 dot x plus the width by 2. So currently the width of the paddle is 10. I should have really made a variable for that, but okay, let's just keep it this way. So the width of the paddle is 10. So width by 2 is 5. So where's my if? Over here. Yeah. Plus 5. All right. Let's just put an alert. Bounce detected. All right. So let's see if it detects the bounce. Okay, yeah, it didn't because I didn't call this function in our draw. All right, so let me just call it over here. Check, check player. Right. So see, the bounce is detected. All right, but this really doesn't solve our entire problem because there's one thing missing in this. Okay. Okay, putting an alert is not the best thing. Okay, so basically what we have to do is, for now, I'm just gonna change the ball's x speed to its negative for now. Because this actually has spammed a lot of alerts onto my window. Okay, sorry, ball.x. Okay. So it again says bounce detected. Okay, so bounce detected and then it goes away. Now I can see bounce again detected and it can. Now if I just keep it over here, I remove this, it's still gonna say bounce detected because we have checked only for the x part, not the y part. So this is technically correct that ball dot x over here minus diameter by 2 and the x over here plus width by 2 over here. So the code is right, but we didn't mention that it has to be within the paddle. All right. So that is the extra if we are going to put in this condition. All right. So let me just remove this one. It's going to be spamming a lot of errors. Okay. So the additional if over here is going to be this is in one bracket. Now I'm just going to go on next line so that it's visible. Uh, it has to be an and over here, okay? Because we want both of the things to be happening simultaneously. Both of the conditions have to be satisfied. All right. So the next condition is first of all, I want the let's get back to that not so good drawing. Right. So first thing I want is that okay. So I think we should be allowing the bounce at least from here. All right, over here. All right. So it has to be that the y of the ball plus diameter by 2, okay, it has to be greater than the center of the paddle minus its height, minus the paddle of the height. So this point over here, so this is diameter, this is center of the ball dot y plus diameter by 2, so we get over here, and this is the center of the paddle, so paddle dot y minus paddle height. So this is how we are detecting that if it is going to be touching the paddle. All right. So let's write that in code. If ball dot y plus diameter by 2 is greater, yeah, is greater than equal to player1 dot y minus paddle height by 2. All right. So this is one part of the condition. Right. So I'm just going to put this in another pair of brackets. So this is like detecting the top part, and it has to detect if it is within the bottom part as well. All right, because now it is detecting that it has to be just this. So basically, so It is basically detecting if it is below. All right. So now if this thing is over here, it's still gonna bounce because it is still satisfying that condition. So I'll have to also make sure that the negative effect is happening as well. All right. So how is the negative gonna be working over here? Sort of like this. Okay. So it's going to be ball dot y minus diameter by 2, which is the radius, and paddle dot y plus paddle. All right. So I'm gonna write this again in the next line. So ball dot y plus minus diameter by 2 is less than equal to player 1 dot y plus paddle height by 2. All right. So let's see if that's working or not. Okay, I'll put that alert back. Okay. So yes, collision detected. Now if I just move it out of the way, it's not. Technically it should be losing, but we haven't really put the losing part. But you can see that message is not coming. It means that this if condition is not being satisfied, which is what we wanted. So, sorry, not here. Let's get it back over here. Let's keep it on an edge. Yeah, it's going to be 1. All right. So I hope this giant if condition makes sense right now. Let me just beautify this. What's that if condition? Yeah, over here. Okay. So over here we have detected the collision. Now what I'll do is I'll just copy paste the same thing for y, for not for y, sorry, for player 2. Right, and the signs will be reversed. Now it is going to be greater than equal to player dot x because now we are going towards the right. Right, so it's going to be all the signs are going to be reversed basically. Right. Then ball dot y. The y part is going to be the same because if it's on the right or on the left, it really doesn't matter. I'll just have to make it player 2 through. All right. Player 2 dot y. All right. Rest of the code looks fine. Let's say collision detected 2. So this is for player 1 and this is for player 2. So this is for player 1 and this for player 2. Let me just resize my window. Okay, wait, there is an issue with my code. Let me check what has gone wrong. Okay, yeah, I did make it player 2 over here. Uh, that is why doing console log is much better, but instead, you guys, I just wanted to show you guys that you can do the same thing with alert. This is a lot of stuff. So collision 2 detected, collision 1 detected, and no any collisions detected. All right. Now what I'll do is I'm going to write another piece of code, which you guys don't really have to understand. It's pretty much self-explanatory. So let me just write down that and I'll send you the link. So now what I want to do is I just want the ball to be randomly bounced. Okay, now it is just moving along that. I wanted to go a bit wide. I just want to change the angle. All right. So what I'll do, I'll randomly generate an angle. Say let angle equals. It's going to be random. The minimum angle is say suppose 0, right? And it should be from 0 to pi by 2. Okay. and I'm going to decrease some amount, because if I make it exactly 90 degrees, the ball will go up and down, which doesn't really make sense. But that's why I'm decreasing it by a factor of 0.2. All right. And now the x speed of the ball is going to be the x component of this angle. All right. So it's going to be cos of angle and ball dot y speed is going to be sine of angle. The speed is actually 1 over here. So 1 into cos angle would be the same thing as cos angle. Okay. So you can see the ball actually shifted. All right. I'll put the same logic for player 2 as well, and just remove that alert. So you can see now it is randomly being formed to different angles, right? So the angle changed over here. Okay, that was an extreme weird condition. There's something wrong with my file. Yeah, let me- sorry guys, just give me 1 minute. Let me figure out why is that weird bug actually happening. Okay, I think I'll get back to it in a while. Shouldn't be really happening. It's giving some problem with its center. Okay, nevertheless, let me just get back to finishing our code, and then maybe I'll just figure out what's going wrong. Oh, all right, I see what's happening. Right. So over here, the ball speed over here, it's becoming positive. So cos of angle between 0 to 90 degrees is positive. So instead of being thrown towards the left, it's being thrown towards the right. I hope you guys get me. So over here, it should be negative, because now I want the ball to move towards the left when it's hitting the second paddle. Okay. So for that, I'll have to add the negative part, because cos and sine between 0 and pi by 2 is always positive, right? I think it should be working. Yeah, works fine. You guys can add one more additional thing, that right now it is always going downwards because sine of the angle is always positive. So what you can do is basically you can again randomly multiply it with -1 or 1. So if I just copy paste this code like this, so sometimes it will go on top and sometimes it will go beneath. So right now it went on beneath and now it went on top. So what I'll do is I'll again copy paste this code, save the changes. So you guys can check the updated link. Okay? Any doubts till now? Only the last thing is left. We just have to detect if the ball is not hitting the paddle, and we can update the score then. Does anyone have any doubts? Our, our last function is going to be very simple. Since we have written this huge complex logic, we just have to make a couple of changes. So basically right now it's checking if it is between the paddle or not. What we'll have to do is we just have to negate that condition. We have to make the reverse of it, right? If it is not between the paddle. So I can actually reuse this code, right? So I'm going to make another function called check loss. All right. Let me just copy this if over here. I'll make the necessary changes accordingly. Okay. So the first thing, in order to make the player lose, is basically it has to like completely miss over here. It has to be basically that ball dot x, and player dot x have to be the same. All right. So if it is the same, then it has to be like, bounced off. All right. So what you can do is, otherwise, I just have another idea right now is we can just completely negate this entire. I'm not really sure how it's gonna work, but okay, let's just stick to what I've planned for right now. Right. So over here for checking the loss is, let me just rewrite this code. Uh, okay, let's change the second part of the code first. Right. So over here, what I'll do is it has to be the other way around. Right. So instead of greater than, it has to be less than. And instead of an and, I'll put an or over here. So either it is on top of the paddle or beneath the paddle. Right. And I'll just reverse this condition. All right. And I think the x can be left as the same, or let's just make it much more sensible and less common. Is less than diameter. So let's do one thing. I'll just put an alert. Player one is good. Let's see how it works. Let's make it. Okay, it didn't detect. Okay, because I haven't called the check loss function. So before checking the player, I think we can call check loss. Uh, yeah. So yeah, player one is a move. And again, oh my god, it's gonna spam again. So what I'll do is I'll update the score of player two. So player score, since player one is losing over here, so player two score has to be updated, and I'll reinitialize the ball so that it comes back to the center. Right. So this page is pretty much spam. So we are not displaying the score, but actually it's been counted. Right. So let's just you guys, hopefully you guys saw that it got spawned again. Right? The moment it's losing, it's spawning again. All right. Now let's just copy the same thing for player two. So if ball dot x is greater than player two dot x, because we are going towards the right now, and I think this condition can remain the same. So over here, player one score plus. So let's again put an alert that player two is a move. Yeah, player two is a move. So now our game is actually complete. Let's just display the text over here. So this is going to be the last function for today, and it doesn't really require a lot of explanation. I hope you guys understood the logic I have used behind the game, what all things were actually necessary. So I've updated the link. Now what I'll do, I'll quickly write down the text function because we are running out of time. So let me just call it show score. And this is another function created by us. And for show score, there's not much code. So it's going to be the same color. It's going to be white, 55, 255. I'm going to make the text size at least 32 pixels. And I have to show two text. And these are P5 functions. Okay? So the first parameter in a text is the text itself. So what should I display? So let's display the score of player one first. Player one dot score and the x and y coordinates. So let's keep x as width by 2 minus 100 so that it's towards the left, so that we can understand it's for player 1. And let's just keep it 32 pixels as the y-axis. I'm going to copy the same, make it plus 100 so that it's towards the right for player 2. Right? And just simply call this function. But now we have the scores on top. Right? So let me just see if this works. See, the score is being updated. Now player one has got 1 point. Right? Let me just lose over here. Player now see the scores are being updated. All right. The game has a lot of bugs right now. Like you guys can see, player one has basically left the game. So all those edge test conditions you can put. I just wanted you guys to understand the basics, which has been covered right now, and many other things like as soon as you're losing, so basically the game just immediately spawns. Right. So you guys can check that as well. There are many other things which can be changed in the game. Right? So you can see this is just really weird. Right? But I hope the basics of the game is understood, and I have uploaded the entire code on my GitHub, so you guys can check it from there. Uh, does anyone have any doubts? Let me just update this link again. Meanwhile, if anyone has any doubts, just put it in the comment in the chat box. Sorry. So I think this was it for P5. If you guys need any inspirations for P5, let me show you a few things. So honestly, I have worked a lot with P5, and I'm actually running a YouTube channel. So over there, if you can just search my name, Aniket Rajan Code, you can see my 100 Days of Code playlist. So over here, I have in a lot of code I have used P5. So let me just show you a few things. I think I have uploaded some of them as well as well. Yeah, so I made this very silly version of Flappy Bird, and everything is made in P5. Right? The code to this game is on my GitHub as well, so you guys can check that out. And this is purely done in P5. All right. So ping pong was one game. Then you can make Flappy Bird. And if you are a bit of an artist, then I created one more thing called Draw Snowflake. All of these are hosted, and I have covered all the code. So you guys can just like simply draw patterns using this. I'm really not that great at drawing, so it doesn't really look that great. But yeah, you can clear and draw again, something like this. And you can save your image, which can be downloaded. So if I just click on this, you have your image. Right? So I have covered all these tutorials in my 100 Days of Code as well. So you guys can check out my YouTube channel as well. And many other things I've been working on with P5, and it's really very easy to build retro games. And if you guys are working on some machine learning or genetic algorithm sort of thing, where suppose AI plays the Floppy Bird game, it's actually Flappy Bird. The reason I named it Floppy Bird because it's kind of a pull-off. It's kind of a rip-off, and that's why I just called it Floppy Bird. So if you are building an AI which plays the game, so most people prefer using Python, but you can also build your genetic algorithm AI on JavaScript. So if you create the game itself on JavaScript, you can also add the AI on JavaScript, which sort of learns and plays the game. You can do the same thing for ping pong. You can design a snake game using P5, add machine learning to that. So actually using P5, you guys can see that our code just has a lot of uh, it's just we have some extreme if conditions. Otherwise, our code is like really simple. We managed to complete our code in 116 lines of code. Right? So 116 lines for a pretty awesome game is I think a win for P5. So I think this should be all the inspiration for P5. You guys can sort of connect with me on LinkedIn if you're interested in working on P5 or learning it in depth. I am more than happy to help you guys out. And if you are not of web development and if you're more into machine learning, then obviously visit bitgrid.net where you can sign up for competitions, win amazing prizes up to $10,000. It is the platform is built for data scientists and by data scientists. So we are updating it with various features such as job opportunities. So you guys can definitely check out bitgrid.net, sign up on the platform, and you'll be getting constant updates on our competition. Do you guys have any questions regarding the code or any other thing? If you have questions about Bitgrid, if you have questions about P5, JavaScript, anything as such, please put it in the chat box. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just send my LinkedIn. So if you guys want to ask me questions personally, feel free to do so. I've sent my LinkedIn profile on the chat. So do connect with me and I'll be happy to solve all of your doubts. All right. So if you have any questions, ping me on LinkedIn. And this is going to be it for today. Thank you everyone for attending this webinar on a weekend. And we'll be coming up with more interesting webinars. So definitely please stay tuned. And this webinar, if you have missed or you didn't understand any part, it's going to be uploaded on YouTube as well. You can directly check Bitgrid's channel. Right. So here are all the webinars. You guys can see we have covered various topics such as I had conducted along with other campus ambassadors on building a cryptocurrency. This was last week's web game development, and we have covered many other topics such as ethics in AI and web scraping. We have data science, we have NLP. So all these things we have covered. So you guys can check out these webinars. And if you have any other queries, you can definitely ping me. I've shared my LinkedIn ID. Right? So thank you so much for attending today's webinar.